Monster Melee! Dwarves versus Elves. Dwarves and Elves, sometimes allies, sometimes rivals, sometimes enemies. Welcome to Monster Melee, everyone, where D&D creatures clash in fantastic battles. I am your game master and commentator, Esper. I'm glad to have you here with me. In today's matchup, we have 5 Dwarf Soldiers and their leader, which is a 3rd level dwarf fighter named Thragdalam Farrowbend, versus 5 Elf Scouts and their leader, a 3rd level Elf Ranger named Sterzanil Shrith. There's also a special objective included in this encounter, which we'll get into here in just a moment. We have here for the battleground, the Cove of the Sea Goddess. This is a map that comes from my Patreon page. It's a bit of an older map, but you can still find it available on there. That's Esper the Bard at patreon.com. Go show me some love on there. You can be a free member or you can be a paid member. That comes with all kinds of really cool rewards and benefits every single month. All kinds of RPG content to enhance your D&D games or your RPG games of choice. So let's take a look at the lineup of contestants here. First, we'll start with the Dwarves. There are 5 of these Dwarven soldiers. I've actually had to create this kind of general NPC myself because unfortunately, for whatever reason, 5e doesn't really have much in the way of just regular soldiers. So Dwarf Soldier, it's a medium humanoid with a dwarf tag, could be any alignment. Dwarves do have a tendency to lean towards lawful good. Challenge rating is 1/2. Armor class of 16. Hit points 26. And a speed of 25 feet. Strengths-wise, well, they're dwarves, so they have poison resistance. That is helpful. I don't know if it'll come into play in this battle. They have above average strength and constitution. They also have a shield bash. So instead of making their battle axe attack, they can do a shield bash. It doesn't do as much damage, but it can potentially knock the target prone. For weaknesses, the Dwarven Soldier has a slightly under par speed with 25, has a below average charisma, and really has limited ranged capabilities. They do have a hand axe that they can throw, but that's about it. And their leader here, Thragdalam Farrowbend. He's a 3rd level fighter, the Battle Master subclass, the medium humanoid, mountain dwarf for the race. Lawful good alignment will give him. I estimate he's a challenge rating 2, has an armor class of 18 due to chainmail and a shield, 30 hit points, speed of 25 like dwarves tend to have. For strengths, has that same dwarven poison resistance, has a good strength and constitution, has a high armor class, pretty good hit points, second wind to regain some hit points once per battle, action surge once per battle, which is going to give him an extra action. That's an amazing feature. And he's got 3 combat maneuvers: parry, precision attack, and riposte. For weaknesses, again, we're seeing that slightly under par speed and the below average charisma and the limited ranged capabilities. Heading over to the elves here. So we got 5 of these elven scouts. I've taken the scout NPC from the monster manual and put in some of the wood elf racial traits. So again, a medium humanoid. He's got the wood elf tag. Could be any alignment. Elves tend towards chaotic good. Challenge rating of 1/2. Armor class of 13, hit points of 16, speed of 35. So for strengths, we've got an above average speed and dex. Pretty good amount of skills here. Got expertise in nature, perception, stealth, and survival. Fey ancestry means magic can't put them to sleep, and they have advantage against charm effects. Probably won't come into play in this battle. Keen hearing and sight, so they actually have advantage on perception checks to look and listen. Mask of the Wild says that they can hide even if they're only lightly obscured, things like foliage, shadows, fog, heavy precipitation. Trance only comes into play during a long rest. They trance instead of fully falling unconscious. They have really good ranged capabilities. They can shoot with a longbow at a much farther range than a dwarf can throw a hand axe. And they have multi-attacks. So they can actually make 2 attacks, whether with their longbow shot or their short swords. Their main weaknesses really are their AC and their hit points. They don't really have very good AC or hit points. And the leader of this band of wood elves here is Sterzanil Shrith. He is a 3rd level elf ranger with the hunter subclass. Medium humanoid, wood elf as I mentioned, we're going to give him a chaotic good alignment. Also, I'm grading him at a CR2. Armor class is 15, total hit points is 27, speed of 35 like his comrades. For strengths, again, he has that above average speed, also has above average constitution and wisdom, has a good dexterity score, has that same Fey ancestry, same Mask of the Wild, trance, really good range capabilities, doesn't have a multi-attack, but can actually do more damage than the basic scouts due to his Hunter's Prey Colossus Slayer feature. Basically what that means is when he hits a target that doesn't have maximum hit points, once per turn can deal an additional 1d8 damage. And he has spellcasting, ranger spellcasting. Not a lot of spells, but they're very helpful ones. Cure Wounds, Hunter's Mark to do some extra damage, and Speak with Animals. He doesn't have much in terms of weaknesses, kind of a well-rounded type of character. The only thing I could really say is his AC is kind of mediocre. Let's talk a little bit about this battle map and the other objective that I mentioned. On the north end of the Cove of the Sea Goddess, on top of this rocky cliff, is a sanctuary of Sortiza the Weaver, the goddess of fate, ocean, and travel. A worthy soul who manages to reach this sanctuary up here will receive a divine boon from the deity. It lasts for 2d6 days. The person gains the lucky feat, a swimming speed equal to the subject's walking speed, and once per long rest, each can cast Call Lightning, Tidal Wave, and Water Breathing. Got a spell save DC of 15 on those, or the subject can use, his own spell save DC if he has one that's higher than the DC 15. Once that boon is given, it will not be given to anyone again for 24 hours. But reaching up here to the sanctuary is perilous. It goes all the way up to 50 feet above the ground, but there are some dangers involved. There are kind of three main ways one could get up there. The first one is this great stairway, this rather sizable stairway. It's quite steep, and when a creature goes onto the stairway or starts its turn there is a divine magical trap, essentially a thunder wave effect, will explode. So that potentially is going to do a decent chunk of thunder damage and blast the person off of the stairs. There's another way up there though. It's a secret passage here, some Dwarven runic script. Someone who reads that and is able to decipher it with an intelligence history check can speak the passphrase, which is going to open up a secret passage. It's basically a sloping tunnel through the rocks here, going all the way up, and that's actually a tunnel through it. So while you're in there, you have total cover from anything outside the tunnel. And the third and final way is just a good old-fashioned climb up the rocks, which is pretty hard. It's a DC 20 athletics check to try to climb up there. And a final note about this site here, this cliff and this sanctuary, it is under the effects of forbiddance. So that is going to prevent anyone teleporting up there or any kind of interplanar travel, allowing someone to arrive up there. The dwarves and the elves each have a claim to this sanctuary. Thragdalam's ancestor, Boarzum, was a master dwarven sculptor who constructed this statue here at the holy site, or we might even call her an idol there. But it was the elves' ancestor, was Sterzanil's ancestor, an elven priestess named Veluria, who sanctified this site such that it gained the favor of Sortiza the Weaver. These two groups have sought out this remote sanctuary for some time, and now they have come, and each is staking a claim. The dwarves have arrived after a long overland trek, and the elves have arrived after exploring through various islands in this region. It is time this sanctuary returns to its original caretakers. Clan Farrowbend now stewards this cove.
This place was never meant for dwarves. Focus your greed elsewhere.
Never once in history have dwarves taken commands from the likes of you.
My commands or my arrows, take your pick.
Stand back! I shan't repeat myself!
So be it!
All right, let's get to the initiative roll. I'm pretty excited for this. Got a bunch of d20s hitting the tabletop. Looks like we got some elves going first, then Stairs Anil, then on to some dwarves, and the dwarven leader's kind of in the middle there. Okay, kind of a mixed lot. Like to see that. It's kind of anyone's battle here. We've got some strengths and weaknesses on both sides. It's a completely mirrored match in terms of CR. I think the elves are going to rely upon mobility, try some different tactics amongst their different numbers. The dwarves want to either close in melee or try to reach this secret passageway and use their stone cunning. And the first couple elves are going to be doing dashes. They're going for these stairs up here. They're going to try to reach the higher ground to the sanctuary. So they're going to go like that. Stairs Anil is going to head over there and take a shot from his longbow. I think we're going to go at this forefront dwarf right here, this Dwarf Soldier. At this forefront dwarf right here, this Dwarf Soldier. Before he shoots, though, he utters a quick syllable of primal magic. Bardosh! And he places a hunter's mark upon this Dwarven Soldier. It's got a 90-foot range, so easy enough. All right, takes the attack with the longbow. Shoots, has a fantastic +7 to hit, but 13 is not going to do it, and the dwarf's armor has repelled the attack. Some of the dwarves are going to try to access that secret passage. Others are going to try to engage with the elves. So we'll go with this first dwarf foot soldier. If he dashes, can't even get into melee quite with the elf. Could go the 25 feet and dodge there. The elves are pretty fast. I think he's going to go ahead and do a dash and try to get engaged with the elves there. We'll go over to Elf Scout number 3, which is this one here. The elves really want to take advantage of their mobility and their long-ranged attacks, so I think he's going to do a dash. You might see a lot of dashes with the elves here. Dwarf Soldier 1 is going to go behind these palm trees and get close to where the old runic script that the previous dwarven ancestors left. Thragdalm as well is quite interested in this historic script. He goes over here, takes some cover behind the palm tree. Elf Scout number 4 is going to take some shots, 2 shots upon this dwarf soldier here. Looking at an 11 and an 8, both of those are complete misses. Go to Dwarf Soldier number 5, the one that has the hunter's mark placed upon him. Do a single move, take cover behind this tree, and I think he's going to dodge. Dwarves are playing into their defensive capabilities, which is a strength they have over the elves. And Dwarf Soldiers 3 and 2 are going to bravely dash to be aside their comrade here.
Watch them run.
You only wish you could run like this.
And that elf will dash up to there to get away from the approaching Dwarf Soldiers on to round number 2. We've got one of the scouts approaching the Great Stair. This is going to be a dash. He runs across the sand, makes his way just up onto the first step, kind of hops up onto this old stone carven right into the rocky face, and there is a great rumble and a blast of thunder that issues from the very stonework. Looking at 2d8s of thunder damage. Oh, such a low roll. It's only 3, and the elf is going to make a Constitution saving throw. Has, I think, just a +0. Actually has a +1. Okay, so a total of 13 is not going to be enough. It's blasted back 10 feet, takes the mere 3 damage, still has a little bit of speed left, and he'll just kind of cautiously approach, not actually stepping back onto the stairs. He shouts to his comrades that the wards remain. The other scout is going to approach, but will also cautiously not step onto the stair just yet. Stairs Anil doesn't have a great shot upon this dwarf. He's got half cover, already has a good AC, is dodging. So I think instead he's going to focus shot onto this frontmost dwarf right there. 17 to hit is going to do it, and here comes the longbow damage. That is max damage of 11. The dwarf takes a painful arrow shot, but is still up and going. And Stairs Anil will head in the general direction of his allies and the stairway up there. We go to Elf Scout number 3, who is going to be making a multi-attack upon this dwarf here. Really benefiting from that amazing range of a longbow. He's still in short range and is going to make 2 longbow attacks. Low rolls. Oh, the elves are not rolling so great, and both of those are misses. I'll move over to there to get closer to the allies, and we'll go to dwarf number 1.
Let me see about this.
He goes and is going to make a stone cunning. It's an intelligence history check. He's doubling his proficiency bonus due to being a dwarf, so we're looking at a +4. 8 total, certainly not enough. All right, with his action, Thragdalam is going to try his luck with it.
Blast, I've never seen their like.
The dwarves are not having luck with that runic script. Right on to Elf Scout number 4 is going to make 2 shots from the multi-attack at Dwarf Warrior or Dwarf Soldier number 4. Comes to 2d20 rolls. One of them is good. 19 is going to do it. The 10 is not. And longbow damage looking at 9. Oh, the elves might be rolling low on their attacks, but they're rolling quite well on their damage. We've got 1 seriously wounded dwarf here, and we go on to 3 dwarves taking their turns. Dwarf Soldier number 5 is the one who dodged back here. He is going to come up close to his allies. I don't think he's quite close enough yet to try to decipher the script, so he'll just have to hang tight there, and he'll do dodge. He'll just continue with the dodging. Dwarf Soldier number 3. Oh, actually, no, I forgot for this elf to make his move. So he would have moved, I think, like such. Okay. Dwarf Soldier number 3. He'll move. Should do a dash. Gosh, the elves are really outpacing them. Maybe he could do a hand axe throw. Let's see. It'd be in long range, it looks like. Bah! He throws a hand axe. Comes the attack roll. Comes up with a 12 to hit. Not quite enough. And Dwarf Soldier number 2. He might as well just do a dash over like that. And Elf Scout number 1, who's actually at the bottom of the initiative, funnily enough, is going to make the multi-attack. We'll do 1 shot here upon this Dwarf Soldier, see what happens with that. 10 is definitely not going to do it. Looking at a 16 AC. Oh, there's a critical hit. I imagine this is going to take down the dwarf here. The elves continue to roll really high on their damage. That certainly takes out the dwarf. He collapses to the ground and is felled. And the elf will do some movement like such. And we go to the top of the round for number 3. And this elf is going to try to do some kind of climbing here up the actual rock wall. See if he has any luck with that. He really doesn't have anything, just a +0 to a strength athletics check. So, but what does he exactly know? He just goes ahead and gives it a try and determines, nope, this rock is not a lot of handholds, not great for gripping, and just kind of has some difficulty with it. I think he still has his action. That was just part of his first, usage of his speed. Go ahead and take 2 shots over here at dwarf number 2. Still in the short range. Longbow is so fantastic. 23 is definitely going to hit, and a 14 is going to be a miss. And there's 9 damage to the dwarf. Ugh. Grits his teeth and bears through the pain. On to Elf Scout number 2. He is going to try his luck with this stairway. Steps onto it, maybe kind of leaps up a bit. And blast comes the thunder. Okay, wow, much better. Thunderwave is 13 damage. He's going to make a Constitution saving throw, attempting to resist that. Succeeds on the con save, so does not get blasted off, and takes half damage, which will be 6. All right, the stairs go up 30 feet. It's difficult terrain, so he's going to spend a dash to get up to there. But he has reached the top of the rock face. He might be the one to go and claim the divine boon.
Run for it!
Shouts Stairs Anil, trying to embolden his ally. And Stairs Anil will make a shot with his longbow at this Dwarf Soldier number 2 right here. Nat 18 is certainly going to hit, and he's got his longbow damage plus an extra d8 from the Colossus Slayer. So we're looking at 8 plus 8. There's 16 damage. Another dwarf. Nope, he has not been slain. He is at 1 hit point. Goes from 17 down to 1.
The end is nigh.
His vigor is wavering, though his bravery and his honor are not. Stairs Anil will move up here. I think it'll be fine. Elf Scout 3 is going to try to finish off this wounded dwarf over here. Comes the attack roll. That's going to be a miss on the first one, and the second of the multi-attack. Nat 17 is going to do it, and the dwarf falls into the sand, bleeding.
Well, you gave them fair warning.
The elf will approach partially, but not get too close. The dwarf soldier here is rather dismayed. I think he is going to try to get some sort of honor vengeance and begins running. That'll be a dash to get over there. Thragdalam, I think he might follow suit. and seeing his allies being felled causes his blood rather to boil. Elf Scout 4 is going to shoot upon this dwarf that is incoming here. Couple of attack rolls. Oh my gosh, we got a nat 19 and a critical hit. This is going to be very painful, maybe even deadly for this dwarf here. That's 21 damage. He goes from 26 down to a mere 5, and the elf covers 35 feet heading this way. Okay, this dwarf soldier who's been playing it fairly cautiously comes over to here and is going to make a intelligence history check. He's got a +4. That's going to do it. He is able to decipher the ancient runic script, ancient dwarven script here, and he utters the passphrase, "Water splitting stone." A secret passageway opens, and he takes part of it. A slope going up through the rocks, a ramp to get him on top of this escarpment. But it's looking like it's probably too late because this elf is going to beat him there most assuredly. Let's see what the dwarves can do. They're not giving up yet. This one is going to try to head back over towards some cover. Maybe he'll do one move and a dodge. I think he'll go for dodge. Okay, so this dwarf here is dodging, and the one that's in the tunnel, the dodge effects have timed out. We go to Elf Scout number 1. I think he'll take shots upon... Let's go against Thragdalam. I think that looks like a good target, a pretty important target to try to take down. With a 21 and an 18, those are both going to be hits. All right, 2 longbow damage rolls, rolling exceptionally well. The elves have just been rolling fantastic on their damage. That is 19 to Thragdalam. He goes down from 30 to 11, just like that.
He has been weakened. Take him now.
Now is the opportunity. The elves are going to try to seize upon it. We've got 2 scouts plus Stairs-Anil to try to take down Thragdalam now before he gets back to his turn and he's able to utilize something to stabilize himself. Don't forget the movement of that elf there. Okay, so Elf Scout number 5 is now up and will take 2 shots at Thragdalam. We are looking at 1 hit. Oh my. He might be going down with the fantastic damage rolls. Finally, a low damage roll on behalf of the elves. Thragdalam is at a mere 7. Elf will go over there. Their mobility and their long range really is just such an advantage in this fight. And the dwarves just weren't able to open up that secret passage fast enough. And the one up on the stairs, it succeeded on its save and didn't get blasted off. So things do seem to be favoring the elves. Perhaps the goddess of fate has decreed that the elves are the favored ones in this encounter. All right, the second of the elf scouts is going to make it maybe so far. Such like that. He's going to do a dash, kind of running across the top of this rocky sea cliff and is on these stairs up here. The Thunderwave trap essentially is just on this main stairway here. Stairs-Anil is going to maybe take down Thragdalam. Knocks an arrow, takes aim, and shoots. A bit of a mishap. The arrow just kind of pithers out into the sand.
I can dance all day like this.
And still another Elven Scout we can't forget who is also going to be shooting at Thragdalam. Here are 2 shots trying to hit an AC of 18, which is quite respectable. Nat 1 obviously is an automatic miss, and a 12 is not enough. The chainmail and the shield repel the shaft of the Elven Scout, who will then move over, I say like such. All right. Thragdalam is going to survive to his turn. Dwarf Soldier number 1. Gosh, I think he's just going to try to drive at the elves, maybe try to use this tree here for some cover. It's rough. He goes as well as he can. Thragdalam's turn. We made it. All right, he's going to use a second wind. So we're getting a D10 plus 3 hit points. Didn't roll so great. Gets 6 hit points back. So he'll go from 7 to 13. He's in a tough spot. I mean, what does he do? Retreat and just kind of cede the area? I don't think so. His allies have been slain. His blood is boiling. He really wants to get into melee. A dash would take him to there. He could dash and then use his action surge for a dodge. That might be the way to go. Action surge and throw a hand axe. Could action surge and dash and get right within melee of Stairs-Anil. He wants to survive, but he's going to go there and use Action Surge to dodge. So he's now used up his 2 really good baseline fighter features, but he still has 3 combat superiority dice. If he can ever get in there and actually use the maneuvers. Elf Scout number 4 is going to take a couple shots. I would say he has a clean shot. These are like palm trees, so the cover is really just coming from the center of them. So here we go. This is disadvantage here. The first attack roll. Nat 4 isn't going to do it. And again with the disadvantage roll, and that 11 makes like a 15. Nope, not good enough. We'll kind of back up to there with the waves beginning to lap at his feet. Probably difficult terrain once you cross this line here due to the beach terrain. The dwarf with the hunter's mark on him is going to move. Let's say that's 1 move, just his speed. It's going to throw a hand axe. It's at long range. He'll throw at this elf scout right over here. 2 rolls for the disadvantage, and Nat 4 is obviously not going to be good enough. We've got a Dwarf Soldier number 5 who is going up a ramp, so he is at difficult terrain, and that is going to make a single move, take him to there, which will say he's like just starting to emerge out of the secret passageway onto the top of the rock cliff there. That's the one that's also marked with the Hunter's Mark, the Ranger spell, by the way, that Stairs and Neil is concentrating on. And we go to Dwarf Soldier number 3, who is dodging or was dodging. I think he's going to move to there and throw a hand axe at this elf here. So no longer dodging. Hand axe flies through the air, splashes into the water. Not good enough. The dwarves are just having a really rough time of it, I would say. Elven Scout number 1. Elven Scout number 1, he'll take shots at Thragdalam. So move to there to get kind of a clear shot, though it is disadvantage. Here are the 2 rolls. Nat 7 isn't going to be enough, and 2 more for the next disadvantage set. A Nat 4, and then he'll move back a bit over to there, taking advantage of his mobility. And on to Elf Scout number 5, who is at the top, nearing the sanctuary of Sortiza the Weaver. Factoring in some difficult terrain, he is going to come to there. Next turn, he is within movement range of reaching the statue and receiving the divine boon. Stazanil, right, he sees the approaching dwarven foe. What does he do? Maybe dash to really just try to stay clear of any surprise attacks or anything. There's a dwarf coming down there, though, so let's see what could be done with a dash. Okay, I think he'll go there and take some good cover behind this boulder over there. This Elven Scout 3, I think, is going to try his luck shooting at Thragdalam, or should he shoot at this soldier or the wounded? Maybe the wounded one down here.
It's time to die.
Well, Nat 5 isn't going to kill anyone. The second shot of the multi-attack is a 16. Scale mail plus shield, AC 16. There is a hit. The dwarf's at a mere 2 hit points. I'll make a move over to here to get some cover behind the palm tree. Dwarf Soldier 1 is going to move like that. Does he dash? Does he dodge? Does he throw a hand? I think he'll throw a hand axe.
Yeah.
Nat 1. These dwarves are just having such a hard time of it. Thragdalam. All right, his dodge served him well, but he can't do only defense. That's no way to win a battle. He's going to dash to get up there. He's going to use this enemy for some cover, like a body shield. He's got his battle axe in hand, has superiority dice at the ready, and he really is just ready to split elven skulls. All right, Elf Scout 4 is going to try to finish off this approaching dwarf here. Here comes 2 longbow attacks. Nat 4 and Nat 5 just is not going to be enough. And he'll go splashing out into the water. Difficult terrain is really going to slow him down. And Dwarf Soldier number 5, who has come through the secret passage, is going to dash along up here. Badly wounded Dwarf Soldier, I think he's going to move there, and he will have his shield out and he will dodge, just trying to survive to get close enough to an elf. All right, Elf Scout number 1 is going to take shots upon, I think he'll go at this soldier right here. 2 multi-attack shots. Nat 6 is a no. Nat 12 makes what, a 16? That's exactly what he needs to hit. Longbow damage comes up to 6. So the first damage on this dwarf right here, he's still got 20 hit points, pretty solid. And the elf will back up like such. All right, Elf Scout number 5, what does he do? Does he risk the provoke to move and take shots, or does he draw a short sword and make 2 attacks? He'll go ahead and draw his short sword, hold the longbow in his offhand, draw the short sword, and make 2 attacks at Thragdalam. He's got a pretty decent to hit, a +4. Not bad for a CR 1/2. 1 miss and 1 hit. It's like a D6 plus 2 damage. All right, just roll the D6. I'll add the 2 in there. 6 damage to Thragdalam. But Thragdalam has the parry combat maneuver. I think he's going to use that. All right, he will use his reaction for parry. He's going to roll a D8 plus his dexterity modifier, which is just a +1. He's going to reduce that 6 damage by this amount. He reduces it completely. Okay, so he's actually not stabbed. He parries it with his battle axe. And Elf Scout number 2 reaches the idol statue of Sortiza the Weaver, and he uses his action to shout his praise and to touch the statue and to receive the divine boon. There is a great whipping wind, a crash of wave down below, a rumble of thunder in the sky. He feels a great exhilaration go through his body, and he has now been given the boon. So Elf Scout number 2 now has the benefits of the Lucky Feat, has a swim speed of 35, and once per long rest each can cast Call Lightning, Tidal Wave, and Water Breathing. It's a DC 15 on those offensive spells.
The cove is ours, you stupid dwarves.
Stairs and Neil is going to take a shot right over here to Dwarf Soldier number 1. There's a nat 18. That's certainly going to hit. There is 7 damage plus the Colossus Slayer for an extra D8. Oof, 14. And oh so quickly that dwarf is reduced to just a tiny chunk of his hit points. And Stairs and Neil, I think, is going to continue keeping cover behind this large boulder here. Elf Scout number 3 as well will take shots on the soldier that is approaching. Go, nat 3 won't do it, and nat 6 won't do it either, and will join his leader behind the boulder. Dwarf Soldier number 1 moves up to here into a flanking position. Did I mention I am now implementing my flanking rule? Well, I'm mentioning it now. I guess this is the best time to mention it. So henceforth on Monster Melee, I'm going to be using my house rule that I've used for many, many years in D&D 5th edition. If you are flanking, you get a +2 to hit on your attack roll. Dwarf Soldier, now is your time to shine. He swings his mighty battle axe. A 7 is going to be an 11, but with the flanking is a 13. I think that's exactly what he needed. The exact number he needs to hit, and rolls 10 damage mightily with his battle axe. There is a mighty chop, and the elf goes from 13 down to a mere 3 in one swoop. Thragdalam. He will attack with his battle axe as well, including the flanking. That is a 14 to hit. Also, the flanking allowed him to hit. This was fated to be. Will the dwarves make a comeback? I don't know. We can only hope so. That is 11 damage. Just chops that elf down to smithereens. The elf shrieks as he is felled to the sand of the beach, and Thragdalam is going to move a bit. Oh gosh, I think he will take, or at least position himself as best as he can to try to get some cover behind this tree. We'll see if that works out in his favor or not. Elf Scout number 4, who's waded out a bit here into the water, is going to shoot at the dwarf soldier that's approaching, who looks to have a dodge going on. Here we go. 2d20 rolls for the disadvantage. Negative, or a nat 2 is obviously a miss, and they've got a 10. 14 is not enough. The arrow thuds off of the dwarf's shield. So Elf is maybe a bit worried, but can't be too worried, right? The dwarf is pretty wounded. Let's see, will he move out where he's actually like swimming? Oh gosh, maybe he'll get to about there. All right, the dwarf up on the cliffs is moving as best he can. 50 feet is going to take him there. A little bit of a hop up, but nothing to really worry about. And then we go to that dwarf who had been dodging, and I think he'll just do 1 minute movement and continue with his dodge. Elf Scout number 1 at the bottom of the round will shoot at the wounded dwarf soldier here. Arrow. First one is a miss on a 10 to hit. And then we've got a 17. That is going to do it. Is this going to be enough to take out the dwarf? Probably so. 6 will do it. The exact amount to fell that dwarf. Things are not going well for the dwarves. We're on to round number 7 here. Elf Scout number 2, who has been empowered with the Divine Boon, calls upon the power of the storm and will call lightning. There is a great rumble and a very hasty accumulation of a stormy cloud overhead. And this elf is going to call down some lightning. I think he'll go ahead and call it down upon Thragdalam. So this is going to be 3d10 lightning damage with a dex save to try to reduce that by half. Things are not boding well for the dwarves. Thragdalam only has like a +1 on a dex save. Nat 5 anyhow is not going to be of much assistance to him. Oof, there is 17 damage. Thragdalam is unconscious and prone on the ground, dying. Sterzanil gives a little smirk and a chuckle and will shoot at Dwarf Soldier 3. It's going to be with disadvantage. This is due to the dodge. And Nat 9 gets the 16. That's exactly what he needs to hit. And he's going to do some damage plus the Colossus Slayer, totaling up to 7. And that does it for the Dwarf Soldier there. Well, things are really, really not looking good for the dwarves. This might be the end of it, but hey, let's go ahead and play it out. Elf comes over to here, drawing his short sword as he does, and attacks. This will be advantage due to the unconscious foe. Nat 17 is going to be a hit. He stabs to try to finish off the dwarven leader. There is 2 failed death saving throws. We go to Thragdalam's turn. He makes a death save. That's a success, just 1 regular success. Elf Scout number 4, gonna go splashing over that way. Dwarf Soldier number 5, who is up on the cliff. He runs over like such. Elf Scout number 1 comes over here with his short sword drawn, and as well will help with the coup de grace, finishing off Thragdalam like such. An elven blade pierces the heart of the great dwarven fighter, and it beats no more. Oof. The elf who is concentrating on the call lightning will now move over like such, and he sees, this dwarf here, and he utters out a command calling down the power of Sortiza the Weaver, and a fantastic tidal wave comes crashing down, just rushing and flooding down the cliff top. This is going to be 4d8 bludgeoning damage, 19 total, and knocked prone. Can be reduced to half on a successful dexterity saving throw. We've got like a +0 dex save. Oh, 15. He got exactly what he needed. So it's going to be 9 damage and not knocking him prone. Sterzanil, looks up there, squinting, shouts to his ally. Can't really see much of the dwarf from where he's at. Maybe I'd say he could attack with like a 3/4 cover benefiting the dwarf. So +5 to the dwarves AC. See, a 17, that's not going to do it because the dwarf technically would have like a 21 AC in that moment. And he'll go over to there. Elf Scout number 3, he as well will, squint and angle and try to get something of a lock onto this dwarf up there. Pretty difficult shot. We'll do the 2 attack rolls here with the multi-attack. 14 still is not going to be enough, even with an 18. And he's going to move over like such. All right, this Elf Scout number 4 will go to there on the other side of the boulder, take his shots. Pretty hard target to hit. Oh, and that 18 is indeed it does. A 22 is going to hit even with 3/4 cover. There's 6 damage. The dwarf winces, grits his teeth through the pain, goes up to there, shouts, "For Thragdalam!" throws his hand axe at the Elf Scout who is over there. I think it's a long range. Yeah, definitely going to be a long range. The first roll was good. The second one's a nat 1. I think fate has just decreed that the dwarves are not to win this day. We'll go over to the last of the Elven Scouts. I don't even think he has a shot on that dwarf up there. So he'll just ready an attack and wait and see what happens. The Elf Scout up here almost smugly will take aim with his longbow and shoot 2 arrows at the dwarf. I think I'll go ahead and do a re-roll from the lucky feat on that one. though neither of them managed to hit. Okay. Well, he'll step back a bit closer to the statue of the sanctuary here. With a stairs and nail, he'll ready as well. Just not really any visual on that dwarf. Elf Scout number 3 will ready. I got all the elves down here ready, basically. We go to the Dwarf Soldier. Now, his metal is quite strong, and his vim is great, and his loyalty is great. But he knows that this day is lost, and this stand is no more. So he is going to do a desperate athletics check and try to get down the cliffs here and dive into the waves and try to make some sort of desperate escape to make it back to his clan, perhaps, and to tell them of what has fallen, to somehow not get tracked down by these elven scouts. It's a desperate hope, a sliver of a hope, really. But we'll give it to him. We'll see what he can pull off. He's got an athletics of a +4, I believe. Indeed, +4 athletics for Dwarven Soldier. So here we go. D20 is not having it, and he slips tragically on the rocks and falls to his doom. So indeed, fate has decreed that the elves are to be today's victors. It was a pretty overwhelming victory. I think only one of the elven scouts got slain. Yeah, just the one. So a decisive victory to the elves here. They have reclaimed the sanctuary here in the Cove of the Sea Goddess. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this longer video. Let me know if you like this longer form. I'm curious to see what you all think of it. This was a pretty interesting battle, a more dynamic one. I've got some great ideas for some more monster melees and some other types of videos to come, so stay tuned for all that. Thank you everybody who supports me over on Patreon and helps make this channel everything that it is. If you who are watching are not yet subscribe to my Patreon, go check that out, and you can get all kinds of really cool things to enhance your RPG games. This is Esper wishing you all the best, everybody, and as always, may your adventures be many.